We have checked the tape on the Miami Dolphins' performance offensively against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I got some observations from the time that the starters spent on the field here today on this episode of Locked On Dolphins.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting. You find our shows on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices. Guaranteed, also guaranteed to bring you some takes here on the Dolphins off-season or offensive performance for their last preseason game of this offseason against the Jacksonville Jaguars. 53-man roster cut downs tomorrow, self-imposed Indianapolis Colts trade deadline for Jonathan Taylor tomorrow. It's going to be busy. We already did the Zach Sealer show as a bonus show yesterday, so you had post-game immediate reaction Saturday night for the Sunday show, and then you had Zach Sealer as an emergency podcast. Now you're going to get offensive and defensive film studies and notes on Monday, and then you get a 53-man roster projection to start your day on Tuesday, and then we'll actually get the cut downs, and we'll see what happens with Jonathan Taylor. Long story short, you're going to want to hit subscribe here on the podcast. That'll be my recommendation, whether you choose to watch and consume on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. I am thoroughly looking forward to what this week brings us. But with that said, as we get ready for cut downs, I would just like to acknowledge how crappy this part of this business is, especially with the way that things have changed. I saw, I believe it was Marcel Louis-Jacques just credited or posted the first of the Dolphins cuts. Jalen Twyman, interior defensive lineman, is the first one that I've seen this morning. And about half the players that are on teams are going to be without a team here in about 36 hours. And it's a really crappy part of this business, especially because it used to be a little bit more systemic. They've now pushed it to one set of cuts from 90 to 53. And I don't want, as we talk about cuts and strategic decisions, I don't want the human element of these guys pursuing their dreams and trying to play football and live out the best versions of themselves. I don't want that to be lost in any of this either. But that's kind of on my mind today as you continue to see the cuts start pouring through. But let's talk about this Dolphins preseason offensive performance against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going to try something a little different this week. I'm going to do the two series that the Dolphins starters were in the game. And I'm going to provide timestamps on the game clock so you know what play I'm talking about. If you want to follow along or seek it out, and if you just want to listen, well, you can just listen, and I'll continue to do my best to describe it. I know I've gotten a lot of feedback on how much people enjoy this, but it would be helpful with the plays. But you got to talk to the league offices on that one because we don't have the broadcast rights. So I digress. The first one is the first big hitter play from Tyreek Hill, which is opening possession. Opening play, 14:55 after the kickoff return on the clock. Tua Tagovailoa is under center, and the Dolphins are in 21 personnel with two backs on the field. Alec Ingold is one of the backs. He's aligned at an H-back. Tyreek Hill in the slot, and it's really good pre-snap awareness because the defender who's lined up over top of Tyreek Hill in the slot is actually Josh Allen, the edge rusher. And as Tua Tagovailoa gets up under center, Josh Allen starts condensing himself in. Tua Tagovailoa takes the snap. He turns his back completely to the defense as though he's going to toss the ball. And then he whips his head back around, does a full 360. Tyreek Hill on just a quick glance. Ball is on the body, and Tyreek Hill is off to the races, gets out the gate, gets up the sideline. Really appreciated the pre-snap awareness of who's out there over top of Tyreek. Now, I think the biggest talking point with this play, I know Tyler DeSena, he's on social media. He's a young kid, a little bit of a tape head. I can tell. I appreciate that about him. He posted one of the clips and looks at Tua Tagovailoa because Josh Allen, coming from the slot, ends up reducing down, and he's got a free run on this effectively RPO, and he bumps Tua after Tua throws the ball. Well, Tua takes 2 steps backwards, boop, goes down on his keister, rolls through, pops right back up. And Marcel Louis-Jacques took that clip that Tyler DeSena had taken from the game film and posted it online. And Marcel Louis-Jacques said he sent it to his jiu-jitsu trainers. And they said, this is amazing. We've literally worked on that situation in every session that we have done. The game tape that I got has both end zone angles. So it was really neat to see the other end zone angle of this and see how Tua kind of cognitively and reflexively tucks his head off to the side. And you can see him brace himself with his hands as he goes to the ground. And I can't wait until this is just second nature and we don't have to acknowledge these types of things. But at the end of the day, with Tua Tagovailoa being such an important piece of the Dolphins picture, and for Tua Tagovailoa with the injury questions that he has, it is inevitably going to be something that we talk about frequently. Obviously, second play is the Connor Williams shotgun snap to the moon. I appreciated Tua Tagovailoa on second and 35, getting up under center and trying to throw a tight end screen pass to Durham Smythe and deciding, I'm going to put this in the ground and not take an unnecessary hit. And then on 3rd and 35, they run a halfback screen. And actually, there is an observation on that play that I would like to provide. So the timestamp is 13:35. It's 3rd and 35. Lots of 35s for you. And Connor Williams is kind of getting bagged on right now because he sent a shotgun snap to the moon. And it's understandable. It's a drive killer. And we're kind of been flirting with it for a while. I get it. But if you want to see the appeal of what Connor Williams brings to the table, it's this play on second-year linebacker Devin Lloyd, where Connor Williams, Jacksonville comes out, they have 2-3 techniques and 2-9 techniques. So they have defensive tackles shaded on the outside guard of both offensive guards, and then they've got wide alignment defensive ends that are looking to tee off. They're tilted in towards the backfield. You know they're coming hard. Connor Williams is uncovering. So Connor Williams takes a snap, gets out into a set, releases to get in front of the screen, and he tracks Devin Lloyd really, really well. And he gets attached on Devin Lloyd on the 35-yard line, halfway between the hashes and the numbers, going to the near side of the field. And he rides Devin Lloyd 7 yards downfield from halfway between the hash and the numbers to halfway between the numbers and the sideline. Like he's stuck on him. He's pushing him. He's got great athleticism. And I thought that was a really nice play to kind of illustrate the good of Connor Williams, because we're so focused on this one single thing with Connor that we can so obviously observe because it's wrong and it sets the offense back in a preseason setting. And I get it. But that athleticism, there's not a lot of guys that are going to get stuck on a linebacker like Devin Lloyd like that. So, food for thought. That was the observations, the biggest of observations that I had on the first possession that the Dolphins starting offense had on the field. They, of course, had 2. The second one, they go down and they kick a field goal in the red zone. And we're going to talk about some of what popped to me on that possession next here on this episode of Locked On Dolphins, before I just kind of dump some notes on you as we bring this episode of offensive film study before the start of the regular season to a close. Stick with us. Listen, guys, August is just about up. It's the official start of fantasy football season. You got to get championship ready if you haven't had your drafts yet for your hometown leagues. By trying Best Ball on Underdog Fantasy, all you have to do is one live snake draft with no waivers, no trades. Underdog sets your best lineup for you each and every week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania tournaments. The largest fantasy football contest of all times is back, and even bigger, with $15 million in total prizes up for grabs, including a bonkers $3 million grand prize going to the winner. Last year's winner drafted their team in July, so don't wait around. Please get in on this action now. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code LOCKEDON to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Locked On. So the Dolphins' second possession, and I'd leave you guys with this too. If you like this kind of content, if you enjoy these kinds of discussions, one place where you can see some of this that I do clip some of this is in the Locked On Dolphins subtext community. So you could text 305-419-3924 to sign up for the Dolphins Locked On Dolphins subtext. Get a chance to text directly with me. You can have one-on-one conversations. There's some resources that we have for the show. There are some film clips that get posted in there as well. And then we also have the Locked On Dolphins subtext community where everybody can chat amongst themselves. So you can either have a one-on-one line with me, you can chat amongst the group, or you can have both. It's a couple bucks a month if you like it. If not, you can cancel in the first 2 weeks free of charge. So Dolphins to 305-419-3924. Don't miss it out. This season's going to be a lot of fun. Second possession for the Dolphins. The first play was a bummer, and then I'll go to the third down conversion with Chosen Anderson because it looked like Miami kind of runs this wind back run into a loaded box, and Jacksonville brings the safety down. The timestamp here, I'll get my head myself, is 5:52 on the game clock. Okay, it's 1st and 10. The Dolphins have the ball on their own 20-yard line. And Foye Olakun is the other linebacker. Devin Lloyd is to the strength. And Jacksonville on the backside of this play shoots Olakun, and they push the safety down. So you kind of get caught with this run blitz. And there's not a lot you can do there when it's to the weak side of where the offensive line is flowing, right? So the fullback, Alec Ingold, steps left and then winds back to kick the end man on the line of scrimmage. But everybody on the offensive line and the original flow is left. When you flow left and it's away from the formational strength, and then you get caught with weak 4, which is with the safety comes down, so you have a fourth body down there that you can't account for, and they pair that with effectively a pressure blitz where Olakun comes through the B gap, there's not a lot you can do there. That play's kind of dead on arrival just by the structure and the numbers and the count of the play. So Miami gets caught behind the sticks. They get set up, and it is not third down. It's 2nd and 12, and it's the first completion, a big first down to Robbie Chosen. This play for Miami, to a under center, another play action pass. I liked his footwork on this drop. So Chosen ends up, it's a deep out to the field. So you have the two hashes, and whichever hash the ball is on, the sideline that is closest to the ball in that hash is the boundary. And then the side of the field that has all of the space between the hash that the ball is on and the other hash, and then the other hash to the field, to the far sideline is the field. So you're running a deep out to the field at about 15 yards. Tua takes a 7-step drop from under center, play action pass, does a really nice job showing the ball. His back foot hits the ground. I like that he didn't hitch and get heel clicky and kind of jump up into this throw. A lot of quarterbacks kind of gear themselves up to throw this ball. And of course, arm strength is not a robust strength of Tua Tagovailoa's play in general. So Tua's back foot hits the ground. He has to take one small adjustment step to get himself lined up to throw to his right. The ball is out as Chosen is at the top of the route at the 30-yard line, breaking towards the sticks. And it is right on Chosen Anderson's face, right at the sidelines. Now, whether or not this was actually a catch, if Chosen completed the process of this catch going down through the ground, I don't know. It was called a catch on the field, though, and we're not going to argue with it because it was good news for Miami to get that. The next observation that I have from a timestamp perspective is a third down that the Dolphins run at 3:55. It's 3rd and 2. And the Dolphins do not convert this, and it puts the Dolphins in a 4th and 1 situation on the following play. The Dolphins run an RPO, Tua drops it off to Alec Ingold. I'm looking at the push at the point of attack here. And one of the themes that I had throughout watching the entirety of this game is the wide receiver blocking and its importance in what the Dolphins want to do in the run game. So again, this play happens at 3:35. It's 3rd and 2. The Dolphins have the ball on the 41-yard line. They get a yard. And the Dolphins run a power concept where they pull and wrap Robert Hunt, and the tight end in motion, Durham Smythe, wraps around. So you get this GY power out of the shotgun. And it hits to the left-hand side of the formation. The wide receiver on that side is Robbie Chosen. And Robbie Chosen is unable to get down onto the safety that walks down as the third B-level defender to that side. And that safety is able to contribute to blowing up Durham Smythe in the backfield because Chosen's not able to get down on him in a hurry. Chosen's first step is a false step, and then his second step is a false step with his left foot, and then he's out the blocks. To be able to get down and crack on that player and create wash along with the rest of the offensive line left of the center, that everybody's stepping down, and Alec Ingold's in there as an H-back, and he's pushing and creating wash. There's good wash. There's good displacement. You actually see Isaiah Wynn does a really nice job in helping secure 99. Alec Ingold helps Kendall Lamb blast Roy Robertson Harris into next week and push him all the way across the other side of the center. You got really good point of attack work. But if the wide receiver is unable to get the crack on the safety and the safety's rolled down, it's a tough ask. I get it. But this group, this offense, it's no block, no rock. And that is, for me, when we're going to get to some of the additional game notes, there's a rep a little later in the game with Braxton Berrios that I think is a stark contrast of the successes and failures of the run game and the wide receiver's hand in playing it. And I think no block, no rock is going to be a big time mantra this offseason or this season for us because of the reinvestment into the run game. It's important. It's essential. This offense is not going to work without it. So let's go to the Salvon Ahmed big run. This happens 2:32 in the first quarter. Dolphins have the ball on the plus 49-yard line. And Salvon Ahmed rips off a 41-yard run and gets outside. Case in point, no block, no rock. Guess what? We got skill players winning on the edge. The first one you've got, the Dolphins are in 12 personnel. They've got Robbie Chosen to the backside. On the right-hand side, you've got Tyler Croft, and you've got Durham Smythe, and you have Cedric Wilson, who reduces down. So you have a three-man surface with two tight ends on the line of scrimmage. So it's a very condensed formation. Salvon Ahmed's obviously in the backfield. He's the ball carrier here. You get really good securing of blocks. Tyler Croft securing outside linebacker Josh Allen's a Pro Bowl caliber player. And he secures him one-on-one and allows Salvon Ahmed to get the edge. Now, the other two skill players, Durham Smythe and Cedric Wilson, they outside release. Durham Smythe climbs up on a safety and runs him to the sideline. And Cedric Wilson gets a nice seal block on the outside corner who is coming down from the roof to try and get outside contain. So really good effort from those two outside skill players. And then Tyler Croft with the starring block. In my mind, he doesn't dominate Josh Allen, but he secures the block, he secures his hands, and he gives Salvon Ahmed the opportunity to get the edge. You had really good vertical release on this play as well from Connor Williams and Austin Jackson. Some more thoughts on Austin Jackson in segment 3. Climbing up to the two outside or the two stack linebackers, Devin Lloyd and Foye Olakun. Austin Jackson can't quite get a firm secure, but he gets up on top of Devin Lloyd in a hurry, and that contact forces Lloyd to give ground and bounce, and then he has to try to recover to get back into the gap and shoot the alley. But because of Savon's speed and the fact that Croft set a block on Josh Allen that allowed Salvon Ahmed to not bubble to get around the edge, Devin Lloyd loses his angle because of the contact that Austin Jackson gives him. And Connor Williams with another outstanding. You want to look at the value of Connor Williams at the center position. Look at the block that he hits on Foye Olakun, who is out-leveraged to the side of the run at the time of the shotgun snap. and Connor Williams gets up on top of him and sucks him in. Really, really nice work from a bunch of different players. We'll get into the red zone work here. I do want to do all 3 red zone plays, but I also want to transition and get us ready for general notes from the rest of the observations that I had in this game, but really wanted to dive into the starting offense. I think there's some into the weeds that we're going to benefit from being able to see and prepare and kind of know the guys that are going to be out in the field when the Dolphins take the field against the Chargers. So stick with us. Got some general notes coming your way next here on Locked On Dolphins. Perhaps you're looking to go to a game this year. Perhaps you're looking to go to 5 games this year. Got good news for you. Buying tickets for your favorite events should not be stressful, and thanks to Gametime, it is not. Gametime is the place for last-minute ticket details. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, because sometimes spontaneous is the best way to do things. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will give you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. So, Dolphins now in the red zone, starting offense. You get a run with Savon Ahmed. Very similar looking concept, a little different structurally as far as the formation. The time on the clock here, it's 1:50 in the first quarter. The Dolphins have first and goal from the 8. Really good potential play here. Again, Tyler Kroft blocking Josh Allen, turning him out, creating a lane in the C gap for Savon Ahmed to hit. This one could have scored. You got really good push from Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson. They got up to the second level as well to block off and cut off Devin Lloyd. The bummer here is Connor Williams. Connor Williams kind of in a straight wash down the line of scrimmage is unable to set his hands and re-anchor. And because of that, number 99 washes him all the way down and makes the tackle in the hole where you would otherwise be asking a safety or a corner to make that tackle one-on-one in the hole. It is also worth acknowledging that Robbie Chosen once again tries to make a crackdown block on the safety, and the effort's not there. So when we get to 53-man cut discussions and we talk about Robbie Chosen, reps like this are why I have a hard time seeing a spot on a 53 for Robbie. Now you have 2nd and 5 from the 5-yard line. So it's 2nd and goal from the 5 with 1 minute and 13 seconds left in the first quarter. This one is a bummer. Kendall Lamb is the one who loses at the point of attack here. Roy Robertson Harris gets him with a really heavy set of hands. The Dolphins' offensive line steps and flows right. You do see what Isaiah Wynn can provide you from displacement perspective. There's a nose tackle here right over top of Connor Williams. Isaiah Wynn is stepping right along with the rest of the flow, and he blows up that nose tackle and off of the point of attack. So you like that element of this, but Robertson Harris, as Isaiah Wynn steps down, Kendall Lamb now also has to flow down with him. And Robertson Harris gives a really strong hand. It knocks Kendall Lamb off of his track, and Robertson Harris is then able to uncover at the line of scrimmage and make this tackle. The third down play happens with 41 seconds. It's 3rd and goal from the 5 or from the 6. 3rd and goal from the 6. And the Dolphins come back and they ran the same play that they ran last week against Houston for a big gainer to Savon Ahmed, which is they ran mesh. So again, the progression of mesh is the rail route from the running back out of the backfield is 1. Whatever the backside crosser is coming underneath to the same, coming towards the rail is usually the 2nd read in the progression. The 3rd read is usually a sit route that sits 10 yards over top of the center, directly over top of the ball. Your reads here. I've seen some debate on this on social, and I know Chris Kaufman from 3 Yards Per Carry has been talking about this with some folks as well over the course of the last day. The read is the rail. Got my handy dandy highlighter here. Help really illustrate, illustrate. The rail is read based off the leverage of the flat defender. If the flat defender expands and gets width and sustains his leverage over top of the running back and his relation to the running back, you're not going to throw the rail. So you're reading the first few steps, because again, all this, especially in the red zone, it happens like this. So if that flat defender gets width, it's out. It's like you're not going to throw it. You're not going to throw that ball. So then you come down to the shallow coming from the backside of the formation towards the rail. This is Robbie Chosen. The Dolphins, when they ran this last week against Houston, it was Tyreek Hill. Now, obviously, there's a difference in the element of speed between Chosen and Tyreek Hill. But one of these players also ran the right route, and one of these players did not run the proper route. You're looking with the mesh where there's 2 skill players and they kind of cross over one another in opposite directions, shallow in the middle of the field. You're looking to rub defenders. You're looking to create a natural pick. And Durham Smythe created a very good natural pick on both occasions. But the problem was when Robbie Chosen ran his mesh, he ran his mesh too far up the field. So as they looked to run by each other as if they were going to give each other a high five, they're on the exact same yard marker, which means if they were to both keep running, they would pick each other off and neither one of them would uncover and get open. So Robbie Chosen has to make a last-minute adjustment to duck underneath. And when you're trying to run in a dead sprint and play runaway and run away from leverage, being able to hit guys in stride across the middle of the field, there's not a lot of room for error. Never mind having to bubble back down 2 yards back towards the line of scrimmage and then try to reaccelerate. And that is what allows the defender who was trailing Robbie Chosen to trigger and get back into his body as the ball arrives from Tua Tagovailoa. So I look at that mesh call, and I think Robbie Chosen got too much depth on his under from the backside, and it interrupted the timing, and therefore there was not an opportunity to hit him in stride with the pick that could have given him an opportunity to push for the goal line. So those are the 2 Dolphins starting offensive possessions. It's a good thing we're not going to do this for the entire games starting in the regular season, because I would get 4 shows a day and probably still not get all the game notes in that I would want to get in. So that's the first 2 positions. That's the starting offense. And the biggest observations of individual performances on individual plays that I had. I joked about this on social media. And I'm sure there's a 0% chance that I will regret stating this. I thought Austin Jackson played a respectable game against Josh Allen. I think Austin Jackson showcased still some inconsistencies with his hand placement and his punch timing and securing blocks, but I thought his recovery was better. I thought his athleticism took over in certain instances, protecting on the outside. There was a really good pocket on that 3rd down mesh play to Tua Tagovailoa. It's a building block, and he's running out of building blocks in Miami because he's in the last year of his deal. But nevertheless, it is a building block. No block, no rock. We talked about it earlier. Braxton Berrios. There is a play a little later in the game, and it's still with the starting offensive line, where Braxton Berrios is in a reduced alignment, and he's effectively in a 2-point stance, 1-by-1 off the hip of Kendall Lamb, the left tackle. And the Dolphins run the ball to the right. And Braxton Berrios is charged with cutting off number 1 overall pick Trayvon Walker. And guess what? 185, 190-pound Braxton Berrios, he did it. It wasn't super effective, but there was strain and effort, and it did force Trayvon Walker to not chase this play down off the backside because he had to work through the body of Braxton Berrios. And the contrast of that was on the other side, you had Robbie Chosen again trying to block a defensive back. and did not have success and was knocked back into the line of scrimmage for a play that with better power and effort and sustained push, you get a little bit more yardage. No block, no rock. It's my thoughts here. Offensive film notes for the Dolphins versus the Jaguars. Look, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. We got defense one coming in just a little bit. I got to sit down and record that one as well. I am finished with the defensive study as well. So just a matter of getting this show posted and up and turn around and then recording one all over again. So I hope to see you soon. Kyle Krabs, Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. Appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Make it a good rest of your morning or afternoon. And I'll be back to talk to you all again in a little bit. Fins up.